Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health Chats podcast. I'm stoked. It is the last day of the year. When this comes out, it will be a few days into the new year. And while I've said, it's just a day on a calendar, there's truly no difference between December 31st and January 1st. This time is really great because everyone slows down. And I think that's why a lot of us set goals and we start to reflect and we look at how we're living our lives. And it really just gives us the space that we normally wouldn't take, or most people wouldn't normally take in their lives, to reflect like this and slow down and be intentional about how we want to step into a new year. And it goes well with the theme of what I want to talk about today, because I'm going to talk about meditation and how I've meditated for almost every day this year. I can't say every day because there were absolutely days where I woke up and I was like, I did not leave the time like I should have. I did not prepare my space like I could have. And I don't want to should or could on myself, but it's just life. It's part of it. Probably part of why I hate things like the 75 hard. They're really extreme. They don't leave space for actual life things like loss and grief and emergencies or priorities that come in and sometimes take precedence over what maybe you scheduled in your calendar that day. So with all of that being said, I'm going to talk about what I learned and what actually changed for me by meditating almost every day this year, and in hopes inspire or give you some more education around why it might help you too. And the people that I'm speaking to with this, it's not those who already live a pretty slow life. I would say it's more people like me, like entrepreneurs who have a really busy mind, and it's really easy for you to fill every single minute of your day and you're scheduled, your life is scheduled, maybe it's scheduled 3 months out, and you look at it sometimes and it overwhelms you and you're like, you chose that, you chose this life, and at the same time you're like, man, I wish I just had a minute to breathe. So I meditated almost every day this year. Here is what actually changed. The first thing I want to say is there is no perfection or discipline around this. I know as an entrepreneur, a driven person, an ambitious person, often what comes with that is discipline, and it's really hard, and the energy around it, it's pretty intense when you show up to something, because if maybe you haven't always lived your life that way, it took that initially in order to build the habit. And I speak from experience. Again, I never used to be someone who had habits and would say I was doing something and then actually do it. I used to, you wouldn't believe it, but I used to be someone who would think a lot. I would overthink and I would ruminate on these ideas that I had, but I would never, ever, ever take action. And I was stuck in that for about 7 or more years. It was a long time. It was the day I started listening to the Jay Shetty podcast, and then fast forward probably 7 years later where I was like, okay, and now I'm going to take action. It took me a long time. And now being in a state of, I would say, more ambition and action. And I mean, you need that in entrepreneurship where you wake up and you're like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to. Um, I've really softened over these years from the intensity of building versus it's just a part of me and I do it even if I'm tired, and I do it with more softness and gentleness, which I would say is something that meditation taught me. But yeah, I'm sharing this because I know a lot of those who aren't in that more soft place, but they're maybe stuck in the build and the grind and the hustle and kind of this external wanting to create something. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like so draining and it can be so exhausting and it can make you resent what you're actually building. Where initially maybe you had this really strong why and this passion and this desire to do it, but you've gotten so caught up in this rat race you've created of your own life. You initially wanted to escape the 9 to 5 rat race, but now you've kind of created it in your own build. And it's like you're almost an employee of your own business rather than the owner who wanted freedom in the first place. So that's who I'm speaking to. That's why I'm sharing this. I also want to say that, like, it's not about doing meditation right. I believe there's no right way to do it. It's simply just carving out the space to sit with yourself and be quiet for a few minutes every day. So the first lesson that I learned is it is not that serious. As I speak, it's funny, sometimes I like bring these awarenesses in of like how I'm speaking and I feel like I'm like really serious about it, but it's not that serious. Life is not that serious. There are serious moments. We can live in extremes. We can live on one side where we're like, nope, nothing is serious, nothing matters, we're living on a floating rock. Or we can live on the other side where it's like, no, this is super serious and you guys got to take it more seriously. Find an in between that works for you. It's different for all of us. I'm going to keep coming back to that. It's like, where is the middle where you're not living an extreme in any part of your life? I used to say quite often you do have to like go out of balance in order to find balance. And I do believe that still in certain areas of your life, especially if you've gotten really comfortable in something that you don't feel like you're really growing in anymore. But when it comes to meditation, it's not that serious. You sit with yourself. You don't have to do it for more than like 10 minutes a day. And when you start to give yourself the space to listen to your thoughts, what I learned is your thoughts do not equal the truth. And I think when you aren't allowing or choosing to give yourself space, you believe every single thought because it's almost like it's unconsciously it's happening and you don't realize this. You believe every thought to be true. But when you give yourself that space to sit with them, you can actually choose which thoughts you want to believe, which ones serve you, which ones don't, and live your life with more intention from that. So I feel like that gives way less self pressure. An example for me, a thought that I used to really struggle with is that I'm not enough. I would have that thought come up. And I remember when I first started getting into meditation, this was not just this year, but years ago, that was my first aha thought. I'd get to the end of the day, I would do everything, check off all of the boxes. I went to the gym, I ate perfectly clean, I journaled, I meditated, I worked on my side hustle, like whatever it was, I check, 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 check. And then I would get to the end of the day and hear the thought of like, no, you haven't done enough. You need to do more. And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, excuse me? Like, it's like I looked at myself in my thoughts and I was like, who is that? Because I know, like me and the thoughts that I choose to think, she wouldn't say that. If I was my own client, what would I say to myself? That's something I bring in as like a coach. And I wouldn't say, hey, Kelsey, you didn't do enough today. Do more. I would not say that. So being able to sit with those thoughts and hear them and detach from them, that has been one of the best lessons of the year because there are thoughts that'll come in, which are often they're programmed from when we're kids. Maybe a coach somewhere said something to you, or a parent, or a teacher, or a friend. It could even be in adult relationships where someone said something to you and it just like held a lot of weight because you cared for that person and you took that thought in as your own and started repeating it to yourself. So I know I said the lesson is like, it's not that serious. It's not. Like you hear these thoughts and you're like, no way. I don't need that. That doesn't serve me. Are you kidding? And yeah, that that has been a beautiful lesson this year. It has taught a lot of detachment too. I would say, yes, life matters, but it doesn't always need to be heavy in that. Like, find that middle way. The second lesson, which I will always preach, is peace on earth starts with peace within. And this year, so every year, me and my family, we go take a Santa photo. And this has been like a 28-year, my entire life tradition. I love it. It's the best one ever. If you're close to my family, friends, you'll see the album and it's the cutest thing. You see like little baby Kelsey, and then just like me and my brother as we grow up, and my parents as they grow up too. I asked Santa this year, I was like, he's like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I was like, "I want peace on earth." And it's funny, I always ask for that, or a puppy. I'm like, "I want a puppy or peace on earth." And this year he was like, "Good luck." And then he like completely just turned to, I think, my dad or my brother to ask him next. And I was like, "Pfft." But what I know through this meditation practice is the peace that I wouldn't say a lot of us are looking for, but the rare few, we want peace out there. I would say. I wouldn't say all humans. Some humans actually love war and fighting and are like really angry. But those of you who are listening who are like, we just got to live in harmony, like kumbaya, it starts from peace within. So through this year, if I really look at like the outside world where I've been in the world, I went most recently to Bali. Bali's actually like pretty crazy. There's people on mopeds everywhere, like 7 kids on the back of one. They've got stuff on their heads, like they're balancing all this. And from the outside looking in, you see that and you're like, whoa, like that's actually pretty crazy. But if you have calm within, you have a peaceful world. It doesn't matter where you are or what's going on. Peace in your world starts from peace within. And an example that I want to share is I was in a moped accident back at the end of 2023. And I said I would talk about this at some point. And so here's the point. It's the difference between reacting versus responding. So I was leaving a yoga class. I was over there in Hawaii for my 300-hour yoga training. And I was in a yoga class. I was like super zenned out. I was so chill. I was already 2 weeks, I think, into this training. So I had done so much yoga, so much meditation. Talk about like a little bit extreme. I was so chill, gone to a yoga class, had the most beautiful message from the most incredible teacher, someone who inspires me to this day. His name's Travis. If you're listening, Travis, you're the best. I hope I see you again soon. But his lesson was that life it's not good or bad. Things that happen in our life, they're not good or bad. We're the ones who create the story, again, coming to your thoughts, to what is good and what is bad. And we put everything in boxes for whatever reason. We put ourselves in boxes too. And life's not good or bad. Life just simply is. Life is. And if you can like open your mind to see that life just is, it's just happening, and detach from creating a story out of every single thing that happens, you can live way more peaceful. So that was his lesson in the yoga class. And I was like, I need to figure out how to thread that into my classes too. But I left the class, hopped on my moped because that's how I was ripping around the island for my teacher training, and was riding down the highway and decided that day that I wanted to be in the shoulder lane because I was feeling really selfless. I was like, okay, there's lots of cars. I don't want to be in their way. There's not a lot of mopeds in Hawaii, like not as many as in Bali. But I was like, let me be out of the way today. Let me like not piss off any people. And so I was in the shoulder lane, which I'm glad I was now. And there was a huge bump that I saw. And I was like, shoot, I'm about to hit this bump. And I was going like 60 kilometers an hour. I was going pretty quick. And my water bottle, which looks kind of like this one, if you are watching, it was in the cup holder on the front of the moped. And I was like, shoot, I'm about to hit that bump. My water bottle's probably going to fly off. So I took my hand off the moped and I put it on my water bottle, hit the bump with one hand. I flew off instead. It felt like, to be dramatic, it felt like I like flipped through the air, somersaulted like 7 times. I probably didn't. Um, but I had a helmet on and my helmet went back and I like scraped my head really bad, scraped up my body, and it was just like really intense, really intense. But back to the lesson of reacting versus responding. Almost in that like exact moment, like it felt like maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds after that happened, I was on the side of the highway and I was like, I am so glad I'm alive right now. I was like, holy shit, probably in a little bit of shock. But I was like, I just survived that. I chose one to be in the shoulder lane, not in the main part of the highway where someone could run me over right after. How did I know to make that choice today? Two, it happened on 11:11. I looked at the clock. It was 11:11 a.m. I was like, okay, to the woo-woo people listening, that is not a coincidence. And three, when the ambulance came and picked me up, my heart rate was like 50. Like it was low. And they're like, are you, what's going on? Like, why is your heart not like, because when shit like that happens, your adrenaline goes way up normally. And your heart rate would be way up, like stress, fight or flight, all of these things. But I was so calm. And I pay it to so many things, like the lesson that he taught me as it was happening. I was like, this is not good or bad. It just is. Like, it sounds so fucking delusional. But honestly, and the ambulance guys were like, I don't get why your heart is this low. And I was like, honestly, I am just happy to be alive. I've been meditating for like the last 2-3 weeks. I'm good. I'm here. And I was just in that moment. And so I pay a lot of meditative practices to being able to handle scary situations. Again, that like peace within creates peace on earth. The craziest stuff can happen around us. And I'm not saying that, my house could blow up right now and I would be fine. I hope that doesn't happen. But I do know for a fact when you practice meditating and calmness, you can handle scary situations a lot better. You respond to them instead of reacting to them. And I think it was the Dalai Lama or someone who said something about like adding fire to fire. The more you add that intense and chaotic energy to chaotic energy that already exists, which would be a moped accident, the bigger the fire gets, the more chaotic it becomes. So if you can be that calm in the chaos, the yin and the yang, because both exist, then you'll feel more peace in your life, no matter what's going on. So I wanted to share that story. It's pretty intense. If you want to ask me about it, let me know. But yeah, that was one of the most profound moments in my life that changed how I look at life and also created so much gratitude for being alive every day. Now I'm like, thank you for giving me another day. Hopefully I have more. And yeah, I just kind of carry on through that. This can also overlap into, I would say, like leadership and relationships in business, because when you're in business and like all of these, you have intense conversations a lot of the time. You have uncomfortable conversations. And you can probably relate when you're in a conversation and someone's coming with just like heavy energy, like they're pretty intense. And if you can keep calm and respond and not react, it's again like that fire and fire analogy. They're that fire. If you can be more calm, you can help them put out that fire and like actually have a conscious conversation where you feel like you're both winning. Because there's nothing worse than someone coming in with that heavy energy and they're like, I want to win, I want to win. But if one person wins and the other person doesn't, that's not a win for anyone. I think win-win is what you're looking for, and trying to find a middle ground, again, coming back to that middle way, everybody wins and then everyone's happy. And there's always a way to do that. So third lesson, life is moment by moment. To the goal setters, I've been there. To the people who are looking at this destination, looking at the future, being like, once I'm there, I'll be happy. Once I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, I'll be happy. Once I have the car and the house and the body and the business, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be able to do the next thing. The future is a moving target. Life is right now. Life is this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment. And I know when I say that, some people get so like uncomfortable and probably shut the podcast off because they're like, no, it's not. They're like, I don't like sitting in this moment. You probably feel uncomfortable sitting in this moment because you have been so used to operating out of what's next, the future. Let's get there. I'll feel better when I have this. I'll feel better when I have that. But dude and dudettes, and everyone listening, I promise you life is right now. I promise. And this doesn't mean you can't set goals and you can't have a vision for the future. But it's again those extremes of if you're always living for what's next and you're not feeling content with what you have now, you're never going to be content because that now that you are in 10 days from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, again, it's a different now that you'll just be in. And it's funny, I remember reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, and I feel like I'm like basically paraphrasing what he would say. For the first time, I was like, no. This sounds silly. This doesn't make sense. But after meditating and sitting with it and like seriously sitting in the moment, I've been able to get a better grasp on that. And when I'm planning for the future, now it's more intentional. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit down in this moment here and live in this moment. I'm not doing it while I'm with other people. I'm not getting out of like being present with others, which is kind of my next lesson. But I'm setting aside the time where I can be really intentional and see, okay, what steps and what actions and what habits do I need to have in place in order to move in the direction of where my life is meant to go and what feels right for me and what feels aligned and what looks aligned. And I think that's another really scary thing for people because often we'll set goals based on what we think, and notice language, think versus feel. What we think our life is supposed to look like, which is often what society is telling us our life needs to look like having the car and the house and the wife and the babies and the, I don't know, I always say wife, husband, but if you really feel and you sit and you feel into it, you might see that you don't want any of those things. That might be, again, a thought that a coach or a teacher or a professor or a parent or a past partner spoke into you and programmed into you. And you've just been unconsciously like rolling with it because you haven't given yourself the space to actually sit in the moment and see what feels right. Thich Nhat Hanh, in The Miracle of Mindfulness, he said, while washing the dishes, one should only be washing the dishes, which means that while washing the dishes, one should be completely aware of the fact that one is washing the dishes. And this is a very Taoist way to live. It is being in the moment. You're not washing the dish to clean the dish. You're washing the dish to wash the dish. And back to lessons I've learned, when I'm doing a thing, to actually do the thing, whether it's grocery shopping, cleaning, cooking, driving, I just feel way more harmony in my life. If I'm like, I'm driving because I got to get there, like just think of the intensity of that. What if you could just be here and experience it, like experience all of it? So that has felt really nice as someone who used to overthink, like trying to get to somewhere. It's like, well, look at me. I got here. I got to December 31st, 2025. And I'll get here hopefully again a year later. And once I get there, I can kind of reflect on how my steps looked leading up to it. So, okay, lesson 4, the presence with yourself. So presence I always say you can never give what you don't have. And I would say people who really struggle with being present, like with their friends, with their family and relationships, most of the time they have a struggle sitting with themselves. They aren't people who sit with themselves, who know themselves. They're often going all the time. And so, if you're someone who wants more presence from people around you, you want to be heard, you want to be listened to, you want to have conscious conversations where you're using your ears maybe more than your mouth, and the person across from you is doing the same, you have to learn to be present with yourself first. Sitting in the discomfort, and I'll always come back to that if this is new for you, sitting in the discomfort of being here. And you can have the thoughts of the things that you want to do, but don't act on them. Just be in this, and then take intentional steps to do those things. I promise you, you will have way more conscious conversations and you will feel way more connected with other people when you're with them. I would say less fixing and more listening. So, with relationships, I guess, how this has changed how I operate in friendships and with like even client relationships, family relationships. I don't try to change people anymore. I know I used to, and maybe you can relate to that. I would see someone's faults, they would come to me with them, and then I'd be like, okay, here's a solution. Let me give you that right away. But people don't always want that. People actually can't be changed. We can't change other people. You can tell me everything that I need to do, all of my blind zones, and I won't do them because I need to learn my lessons because I'm living my experience, just like you, just like your mom, just like your dad, just like your dog. So it's taught me less trying to change people and more leaving space for them to grow on their own. And the cool thing with being a better listener, and people have told me, oh, you're so good at like conversations. It's because I listen. It's because I listen more than I speak. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And it doesn't mean I don't speak, but I would say meditation has helped me with speaking more intentionally instead of cutting people off and saying what I want to say because I want to be heard. It starts with presence within, and then you'll receive the presence from without, from outside. Biggest shift, I would say, from all of this, I would say more self acceptance. I my life for the last few years, it's been a lot about self love, a lot of external self love, like loving my body, changing my body. And this shift over the last year has been a lot of internal self love because both need to exist, both sides of the coin, the yin and the yang. And being more intentional about sitting with myself, bringing up those thoughts that aren't mine, feeling the feelings that are mine, and loving all of them, all of the quirks, the faults, the challenges. When we can live in a state of just like pure love, self love, then we can give more of that love and we can receive more of that love. And I'm not trying to change myself anymore. Back to that thought when I first years ago started meditating, that's like, you're not worthy, you're not enough, you need to do more. I don't try to change myself anymore. I don't feel unworthy. I feel completely harmonized and content, the devil's word when you don't sit with yourself. Being content is okay. You can be happy in your life. It's actually like really safe and secure and stable, and it feels good. And you can grow from that place of contentment, but that growth feels more sustainable now. So, some meditation, I don't want to call them facts, but I guess tangible things to know is when you're sitting in meditation, one, you don't need to commit to like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. We are not Thich Nhat Hanh. We are not the Dalai Lama. We are not Buddha. Maybe you are. Maybe that's your goal. But try 5 minutes. I've talked about this in a different podcast where I talk more on the benefits of meditation and like what it can do in your actual brain. So listen to that one. I'll link it below if you're interested. But yeah, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I did like 10 for this whole year. I added in breath work at the end of the year, and it's been incredible. Consistency is more important than the duration. So look at your calendar, be realistic. Can you commit to 5 minutes a day? Most people can. And if you can't, you're telling yourself you can. Again, the story in your mind, mindset. You don't need to stop your thoughts. So meditation is not about a clear mind. We have a brain, we have intellect. It's part of being a human being. Our thoughts will think, they will continue to think, and we have to let them. And the levels of that meditation is learning to detach from them too, which don't expect yourself to be there from the beginning. Meditation, it trains more awareness. It helps you regulate emotionally, noticing that difference of responding versus reacting. It supports our stress response and clarity. You'll live out of a place of more like rest and digest versus fight or flight, which is where most of us live in fight or flight going. But again, it's not bad to be in that place. Sometimes we need it. And yeah, even a few minutes counts. So to wrap this up, this was longer than I thought it would be, but it's fine because I love talking about this and living this. I want to speak back to the busy entrepreneur. If you are always on and it feels so unsafe to slow down, please know that this presence, it will improve that feeling of safety, that feeling of security. I know I use the word content. If you don't like that word, try to redefine it, or you don't need to use it, but come back to like safety and security. Often I would say like we're going because we're trying to create freedom and happiness and like stability and all of those things. But you need to feel that within at the same time. If you don't feel that in your nervous system, in every cell of your being, it does not matter how much you achieve. Listen to freaking Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. He even says it. And I can guarantee he's probably got a lot more external achievements than most people listening to this. It does not matter how much of that you achieve. You will never feel like it's enough until you feel that peace within. So try to rewrite it as calm is productive. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It will improve your creativity too. Like I am someone who has woken up every week for the last, I don't know how long it's been, 10 months now. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do a podcast. And women listening, doesn't matter what part of my cycle I'm in, I still do it because I feel calm and because I love what I do. So to close, back to the entrepreneurs, if you're listening and you are lacking that slowness, you are lacking that presence, you're more reactive than responsive, you have built the external world, or maybe you're stuck in building that external world and you feel almost like stuck in this rat race you've created in your own life, what we would work on together is sustainable habits and more focus on holistic balance and internal self-love. The way I do this, it's through fitness, through nutrition, but also deep mind and spiritual work, which is probably what you're lacking. So, invitation to work with me. I'm working with 5 people in 2026, just 5, because I'm not going to burn myself out. Nope, not anymore. And a reminder that life happens right now. So make the time today to sit with yourself, be present. 5 minutes is all you need. I appreciate you listening. Have the best start to your year in 2026. I am sending out so much love and light and groundedness to everyone. And I'm just so excited for what this year has to hold. Bye.